This one's for the reputable roofers of the future. An absolute legend, you know who you are, sent me the Journeyman's exam on the fascia gutter, which many of you had requested. And if given this exam, the first thing that I would do is put it into a drawing like so. The simplified drawing had 300mm down here, 300mm after a 90-degree turn, and then another 250mm after a 135-degree turn. Now, 135 degrees is a 90 plus 45, and this is the easiest way to get this. But let's start with the return, stop, end. My guttering I'm using is 125mm long, so I'm leaving a 20mm tab on the face, and then I'm marking about 142 because I don't want it to be too tight. I'm then squaring this up around the entire piece. Next, I'm marking the tab on the front side and then allowing for about 25mm on the underside. These are my laps marked. Because you're returning the bead, you need to mark it on a 45 degree each way and probably leave a little bit extra on one side so I can tuck into one another. And then you're going to continue to cut everything out until you get to the point where you're ready to fold the front edge. Now, when you do the Journeyman's exam, you'll need to pre-drill your rivet holes at 40mm spacings and clean the swarf out. Then you'll need to silicone rivet it and clean the joint. And when you're done, your return stop end should look something like so. Set it back on your template in position and mark the front and the back of the angle. What I'm doing here is I'm marking that angle across and then I'm measuring it off the center point, and then I'm adding a little bit less on the other side and then marking it down, because as I turn it around, I'm going to then make the adjustments I need to ensure that it marries up with my template. Here I'm marking the bead on the angle that I want it to be, roughly, and then I'm back to cutting it all out. Now I'm going to try bending it around and see if it marries up with my template, which it doesn't. So then I'm going to trim the downstream end and allow it to come around a little bit further. Now that it's sitting on the template, I'm going to mark the edge and then square it up, and this becomes my big tab. When doing something like this, always leave as much material as you can, because you can always cut it off, but you can't add it on. Rivet it all together and make sure it sits on your template nicely. Mark your next pivot point, which is your 90-degree turn. Square up your face and then mark your 45s on your bead. Add 45s each way off that front pivot point line, and then make sure you add your tabs on the upstream side. Then you'll cut out all the excess material and fit it to your template. A 90 degrees should be easier than the other angle. Rivet and seal it compliantly, not like I'm doing. And once you're done with this angle, you've got two things left to do. Mark the piece where you've got an open end, trim it and make sure it sits on your template again. Then there's a 100x50 pop, 150mm in at this end, and I'm hoping that's enough to get you through this exam.